Hey folks, Chris McLean, Peak Performance and Transformation Coach, back again with another episode of the Peak Performance and Predictable Growth Show, the peak performance show for creative agency founders, owners, and leaders, where we explore the agency journey from the unique perspective of those at the coalface of the industry. And my guests help unlock and dissect strategies, tools, and tactics from the trenches that are working right now to help you deliver better results for your clients and grow and scale your agency to 6-7 figures and beyond. It's my pleasure to welcome Jason Fox on the show today. And Jason is an agency coach and he helps agencies with their client acquisition. Jason, awesome to have you here. Thanks for dropping by, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So you're a coach, you coach agencies. Is there a specific type of agency that you tend to work with, or is it more the service around sort of client acquisition? What stage sort of agencies do you work with? Is it early stage, later stage? And give us a bit of background on who you work with and how you help.
For sure. So look, I mean, when I first started with this, my big thing was to coach people who were similar to what I'm doing. So that was, the Facebook ads agency, if you will. And then as I started growing with my own agency and then jumping into the coaching side, I realized a lot of the tactics that I was using, are transferable to most agencies. So I work now, one of my most successful client does web design, another one copywriting. We still have some Facebook ads people, but kind of an overhaul of different agency owners. And then, at the stage they're at, it really depends. We do help people go from that 0 to 10K, but, around that 2 to 5 grand a month is really where we start to help people and then scale them up to, 10, 20K and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. That's a really good space to pick people up and help them that 10K a month mark. That is the number one priority. That's sort of the first milestone for a lot of agencies.
Definitely,
And we sort of say the strategies that get you to 10K kind of shift when you're trying to get to 20, 30, 50, and 100. So take us through. So I'm a new agency owner. Maybe I've been running a few months, a year. I've got a bit of traction. I've got a few clients, but I'm stalling out at that 2 to 5K. Maybe that looks like. Maybe I'm selling sort of a medium ticket service. So maybe that's 5 clients at 1,000 each. Or so. How do you step in? How do you help scale that type of business up? Sort of where do you start in assessing where to help?
So the first thing that I would have a look at is whether the agency owners has utilized all of its current assets and what it's currently got to utilize. So for example, for me, that would be, if someone's at 2 to 5K a month, it means, they've probably got a couple of clients here and there. Their pricing might not be in the best shape, but the assets that they currently have, what I would look at is who they have on their quote unquote list. And list doesn't mean you build this email list. I'm not telling everyone to go out and do that. It's list of people who already know and like you. A big thing for me is always going after the low-hanging fruit. So from my agency journey, my first couple of clients, my first one was a friend of my mom's. Second one was a real estate agent of my mom's. Third one, I think, was a referral from my dad. And fourth was a referral from my friend. And utilizing that, those people, that can easily get you to that 10K a month mark. And then once you're in there, systems really become important into scaling and building out proper infrastructure, so you can take on more people, you can reach out to people cold. But really the initial stage is all about utilizing your current network and what you have available to you. So it's not just people like and trust. It's your Facebook friends list, people who went to school with, college with, whatever it is, utilizing that. It makes it so much easier to grow when you have when you're utilizing those assets that you already have, because as I said, people already know and like you. And the trust factor really comes throughout that as well.
Yeah, I think that's, again, my agency journey. We started the same way. Our first few clients were sister of a friend or friend of a guy we knew from clubbing or something. Actually, a lot of the work we were doing was flyers for clubs that we were frequenting. right? So we built websites for nightclubs and the places that we were hanging out, and we had those connections. So connecting into your network is really, really important. One thing I do find with that is, and maybe you've come across this, maybe you haven't, is when you are stepping into a business, right, you're kind of becoming something different. You're stepping into maybe a new persona, a bit of a different character. When you're doing that and trying to reach out and put that in front of old friends and family and people that you have these different kind of connections within you, do you find that that can be a kind of a bit of a blocker for people?
Yeah,
like, well, now I'm business Chris now, and hey, come do business with me. That how does that show up for people?
That's a good point, and I definitely think that a lot of people do struggle with that. Me personally, I don't too much, because you really do need to step, like, the person who you are at the club and like wherever else you are is completely different to that business person. And you need to step into that role as the expert when you're having these conversations around business. So it's not explaining things like saying, oh, I do, like Facebook ads and stuff like that. It's saying, I do Facebook ads to get clients as quickly as possible through lead nurturing, through retargeting, like stepping into that role as the expert and communicating in that expert role. A big thing for me is having those communication skills to separate, okay, this is now, we're friends, we're having a beer, enjoying each other's company, and this is a business conversation where I am showing my expertise and, showing you the way and guiding you. It's really being a leader in those conversations. And I definitely think it is a struggle for people, but really the big thing comes down to like being that leader and showcasing your authority and expertise.
Yeah, that role shift. The term you use, that because we obviously, when we have friends and we have mates and we have family, we play that role and they perceive us. We have that. There's a perception that goes on there where our friends perceive us as, they have that role perception. And when you try to change that dynamic shift, that interpersonal, interrelational shift starts to happen, it can be a bit weird for people. So I think it's a really interesting space. You talk about helping people just step into and own and become that expert. How do you accomplish that? How do you help somebody kind of mentally, emotionally transform and really step into their that new role, that expertise?
Yeah, one of the biggest things for me is all about like actually knowing what you are doing and knowing your service. That makes it so much easier to talk about. When I talk to agency owners before getting started, is I always give an example of like, what's one thing that you're extremely passionate about that you could teach me for 30 minutes, like right now? And whether they say snowboarding, soccer, football, whatever it is, like the sport or otherwise, is they have this such like passion and such authority when they talk about it, where I'm like, wow, I want to learn from this person. Is your first real step, and this is something that everyone really misses because they just want to go after the money, is actually being good and actually understanding exactly what it is you do. That's why I really, when I mentioned earlier about, the agencies that I work with, I really like working with the videographers, the copywriters, and people like that, because they're what I like to call the artist first. Like they're the artist, they can do the thing, and then the business person second. The business side of things is easier to teach than the artist side, where a lot of Facebook ads agencies, they just want the business side. They don't really care about getting clients results and like actually achieving, what they said they would for their clients. So I think the big thing when you're trying to step in that expertise role is being knowledgeable and actually implementing what you say and really understanding and diving deep into that world. When I was started, I was reading articles, watching listening to podcasts on YouTube, taking courses, getting as much knowledge as I could about what I was offering to people. So when I could have those conversations, I was an expert and I knew exactly what I was talking about. So I think that side of things is really important as well, is actually diving deep into the world that you're in.
Yeah, that having that value system almost aligned to this is what I value, but also having that alignment of that confidence. I like that sort of what you're saying there. I think there's there's almost sometimes sort of a modeling that can happen there, where if I'm passionate about soccer and I can talk about soccer and I get ripped up and I can talk about all the players and I've got that energy around that thing, if you can help shift that energy across or kind of transpose that same energy to Facebook marketing, Facebook ads. And a lot of that is, as you were saying, when you talk about football, it's because you watch it all the time. You read the player bios. You've played the game yourself. You know the rules. You know what's happening. You understand the game. So taking all of that and kind of transposing that to do that same thing, but for Facebook ads or for copywriting.
100%.
That's something I've always found. When I'm confident about the subject matter, I can talk about it and it comes off the tongue. I can speak fluently and communicate well. When I'm kind of out of sync, if I'm dropped into something, if you wanted me to talk African geopolitics, my confidence would disappear and I'd sort of, the introversion would come in and it's a whole different thing. So I think, as you're saying, it's important to get that balance of being really aligned with what you're doing and actually being an expert in not just the subject matter, but actually how to do it as well. I think, do you find that there's maybe not with the clients you work with, but I say like in the industry, sometimes there can be a distinction between that as well, where people are great at the marketing side and great at pushing the services, but maybe not so good on the delivery side. Do you see that showing up at all in the people you work with, or just in the sort of industry as a whole?
Yeah, I see it far too often, and it's very frustrating because that kind of ruins it for a lot of other people, because they're burning these businesses, and these businesses don't want to work with other marketers because of that. So for me, I just think that you've got to be as good at what you say. You've got to be able to back that up. You've got to be able to deliver. And I think that it's sad that this happens too much. You see it in Facebook groups all the time. Hey, I just signed a client for $4,000 a month. How do I advertise for them?
How do I run Facebook ads?
Yeah, that's crazy. So definitely you've got to get good at your skill first.
Yeah, it's certainly a balance between skill, character, confidence, and marketing. Right, you got to be able to position it and sort of put yourself in the right stead to attract the right type of clients. Is that something you work on as well? Is helping people sort of work out who do they target, right? Who you're going to go at. You sort of look at client acquisition. It's about what channel, what channel are you going to promote? What service are you promoting? But then, who are you targeting? Is that something you sort of get focused on? Is who are you actually servicing and why and how?
100%. And that's kind of where we our program is called 4-step consulting, because the really big thing for us is we try to break things down into 4 steps. And the first is your offer, which is also your niche, your client avatar, and really understanding that and getting crystal clear on that. And the other 3 steps will not matter unless you do that. So many people don't have a good offer that they can actually communicate with clients. I always use this example. I think it's a Sam Ovens thing, is like, how do you know what Sally wants for lunch? Well, you've got to ask her. And too many people just go in and assume, this company, they need Facebook ads and Google ads. Well, maybe they don't want that. Maybe they don't want more leads. Maybe they want appointments. Maybe they want bums on seats if it's a hair salon or something like that. Maybe they want phone calls. Whatever it is, you've got to figure that out and tailor your offer to exactly what they need. The second step that we really like to talk about is the marketing side of things, marketing yourself. And when you have that offer, it's a lot easier to market yourself because you're an authority, because you're speaking on the pains and problems that these clients are facing and having. Third step is sales. So all about having conversations with clients, understanding their pain, then presenting your offer, not the hard closer, buy or die type crap. We don't teach any of that anymore. And then the final piece to kind of answer your question is delivery. And delivery is really based on your offer. So if you don't have a good offer in place and a good niche and client avatar, then delivery is going to be very difficult. So we really try to focus on delivery, because ultimately hitting 10K a month, I'll be honest, it isn't that hard to hit it once, but to hit it every single month, it's a little bit more difficult. That's where the delivery piece really needs to come into play, where you're getting clients results, you're keeping them for longer, you're communicating with them, which makes it a lot easier to scale your agency.
Mm-hmm. And from an agency that's sort of just coming in at that 2 to 5K mark and they're trying to get up to that 10K, in terms of pricing, I always find there's a lot of people now, a lot more people sort of talk around high ticket and that sort of thing, which again changes all of that, all of those 4 things that you've just talked about change considerably when you go from, well, here's a $47 online training course or a $100 website, right, up to, well, now it's a $20,000 web management package and social package and content package. How do you see that sort of conversation shifting? Do you see, are you recommending people sort of just bump their prices up and lead more with the value rather than trying to price compete at the lower end of the market? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, there's a couple of pieces to that, and I think the high ticket space there's a lot of ego in it, and people like, I can just charge as much as I want now. And you see like beginners like getting $5,000 a month deals when they don't know anything that they're doing. They've just got the sales piece down pat. So I think that you really can't just go, oh, I'm going to double my prices and keep increasing until I hit this certain number. Like, I think that's craziness. I would much rather you focus on having a price that you're comfortable with, that you're excited with as well. You know, it's always got to be in fair exchange. You don't want to be getting paid $1,000 to do a whole bunch of stuff, because then you're going to resent that client. So you want to be in fair exchange too. For me, I also believe that what we do and the skills that we have at minimum worth is $1,000 a month. Like, that's the lowest ticket that I would ever recommend anyone to go, and if they're offering a service that can be a retainer based. But then upwards from there, I think, you know, at $1,500 a month, that's a very significant investment for a lot of small to medium sized businesses. And it is a good amount of money for you to be able to execute and do what you need to do in your business to get them results. So yeah, not really sure if I could answer that question effectively, but yeah. I just think that, you know, there's this ego around like charging 5, 10K, like, when in reality, like, we all got into this business, well, most of us did, to help other businesses. You know, charging 10K for a website where it's just like a hair salon, like, what's the ROI on that? That's craziness to me. But charging $1,500 for a great website for a hair salon, that's life-changing for them, because they're going to get clients. They'll be able to keep these clients. It just makes such a difference. So pricing is a topic I really get passionate about, if you hadn't noticed. No.
I mean, that's kind of the pointy end of the business. That's what makes it a business and not a hobby. So it's important stuff to get right. But yeah, I think you're 100%. It comes down to the value proposition, right? 1,500 might be really great value. It might make a lot of sense for a certain product, and 10 grand, 100 grand might be a really great value proposition at a different level. So it all comes down to, you know, often it comes down to what's the value of the problem that you're solving. And it's a bit of that, like what's the value of the problem that you're solving, and what's the value of, for that person, of actually, what's the downside of not solving this problem. So you look at a hair salon, $1,500 for a website, that's going to get me more clients. So I could probably do another $1,500 in revenue, or I might get $5,000 worth of revenue out of that investment. Versus if I don't upgrade my website, if I don't pay that $1,500, maybe I don't get any more clients, or I don't get as many new clients, or I don't get to expand the business. So understanding the value, what's the challenge, what's the value there?
Yeah, that's really big. I think that's so important, is the value side of things. And it's really difficult as well to quantify value in a lot of circumstances. But the way I try to look at things is like, what is the value of the problem that you're solving? Like, if that is here and you're coming in and your price is here, then this little gap is what makes it a no-brainer for the clients. They're like, well, of course, like, I'm going to do that because the value's here. You're charging me this. Like, this no-brainer gap is like, well, of course. It's like, if I said to you, like, hey man, I could get you a Lamborghini for $1,000. Like, if you didn't have the $1,000, you'd probably figure out a way to get it. So I think that's also important as well, is like the value and the price equation. And you want to make that a no-brainer for your clients, because it makes your marketing and sales process a lot easier as well.
Yeah, 100%. There's the flip side of that. If you're trying to sell me $1,000 Lamborghini, I'd probably be pretty suspicious.
Yeah, and that's also a discussion as well. It's like you've got to price it. Like I've seen people who, one of my clients was a copywriter, and his copy is fantastic. He's really, really good at what he does. And he was spending his time writing LinkedIn bios for like $400. And I was like, man, like that's ridiculous. Like you should be charging a lot more because of your skill set. And people were just taking advantage of him at that $400. Now he's signed like $3,500, $5,000 clients because he's valued his services. And those people are like $3,500, this guy must be good. So you're right as well. That's definitely an equation to look at.
Yeah, it's a nice way to again, what's the value? What's the problem? What's the challenge that you're solving? And what's the market? It's also that there's also a case of you can charge what the market will bear. There's a price elasticity from, right, here's what I'm comfortable. This covers my costs. Feels like a pretty good rate for this thing. And it's elastic right up to what's someone willing to pay for this, where they still feel like they're getting a return on it. So the price elasticity in a Lamborghini, if you look at the cost of the parts, it's probably not what they charge for the brand and the car and the experience and all of that stuff. So
100%.
That's what the value is in that type of service. So I think we sort of talked about high ticket. I think that's where high ticket works well, where you're in that kind of market where you've got a big chunk of value and you're dealing with people that see you as the expert and are happy to say, look, I'm willing to pay the money just to get this dealt with, to get this handled. Either I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, I don't have the resources to do this myself. If you can take it off my plate, have at it. I'm confident that you can deliver. So they say pricing's a really interesting place because, as I said, that's where it becomes a business for us. And they said with your copywriting client, you can be doing a business. You can offer the same thing for $400 or $3,500. Which one would you prefer?
Yeah.
So it's very dynamic, and it's for agency owners. I think it's really important to have someone like yourself who can step in and just kind of ask those questions and give them that perspective of, look, this is what's happening out in the market. I work with someone similar to you and they're charging this, whereas you're charging this. So I think that's the value of a coach. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that piece is really important as well. Is the coaches. Someone recently said this. I heard it on a podcast. Is like coaches in education. They're not like from here is where you want to be and here is where you want to go. Is not all coaches and not all educational services are going to be the bridge that completely get you there. Look, I mean, there's a lot to that and like whatever your long-term goals are. But every coach and every educational stuff that you keep doing is bricks along the way, like building that bridge. And I think it's important for people to look at that perspective is the coach isn't there to save you and to build that bridge for you. The coach is there to add bricks to the bridge so you can eventually get there. That's why constantly investing in yourself is so, so important, is because you don't even know how to make one of these bricks and the coach is going to come in and show you exactly what to do there so you can add these bricks and keep stacking them along and eventually you'll get to where you want to be.
Yeah, I would say that's a great analogy for what a coach does. A coach really is the support system of, hey, here's this thing that you want to achieve. You don't really know how to get there. You're great on the tools, but the coach supports you in that journey and kind of gives you the bricks along the way and sort of helps you achieve the thing that you already kind of want to get out there and achieve for yourself. I think I heard something similar. I think it was Preston Smiles, who's another sort of in the life coaching, transformation coaching space. He said something similar. I'm paraphrasing, but something like, as a coach, you're not necessarily somebody's end point. Sometimes you're just the catalyst. You're just the start. And so coaches can come in at various parts of the journey. Someone like yourself is maybe a great catalyst to catalyze you and get you going and get you up to that 10K and get you ready and propelling and get your business started. Others might be more, now that you're doing $500,000, $1 million, let's have that conversation.
That's important. I really I like that, as well as like the catalyst to your growth. And also at the same time, a coach, like I put up all of these testimonials and all these videos and stuff like that. And sometimes I almost feel like, did I really do all of this? And in reality, I didn't. Like, let's get real. I didn't get that person to 10K. I showed them the path. I gave them the tools. I gave them the strategies. They still had to put in the work. So just remember that, like, a coach isn't there to put in the work for you. I think Sam Ovens says this, is like the coach isn't there to, throw you a life raft and then put you on the boat and then they're going to drive. No, the coach is there, like, showing you where to go, like showing you to turn the sails, turn the boat, like whatever it is. They're not throwing you a life raft. So you need to understand that, as well as, like, the coach is there to guide you and put you in the right direction.
Yeah, there to help you and make you better. I mean, perfect analogy is, if you wanted to get better at tennis, would you want Roger Federer to teach you or Roger Federer's coach?
It's a great point too. Yeah. Roger will just yell at you all day.
Yeah. I mean, Roger's great on the tools, best in the world class on the tools, but he still has a coach that looks at the whole system. I think that's an aspect of coaching as well, where particularly saying for creatives and copywriters and people that started on the tools and now have a business, it's a whole other world. All right. It's me, myself, just copywriting, designing, building bots, building apps, doing the thing that I love, coding. Now I've got a business. Now I've got this much responsibility. Now I've got other people to consider. I've got relationships. I've got to deal with clients. I've got to write proposals. There's a whole other ecosystem of challenges that comes with. Now I've got a business. I've moved from hobby to business. So having someone that can support you in that journey and make you the best that you can be, to get all the stuff, to still do all the stuff that you love and build and grow your business, I think is obviously, we're both coaches, so we're always going to advocate for coaching. But I think for me, that's where a really good coach comes in for anybody, but particularly for agencies, is to help them in that journey, help them see the whole picture and make them better and more proficient at what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think I can't overstate the importance of coaching as well. It's just so valuable to have someone in your corner. For me, I notice, like, every incremental shift in our business has come as a result of us investing in ourselves, getting a coach and moving to the next level. It's just always like, we could look at it, pinpoint it on our, like, Stripe accounts that are like this. It's just up because of a coach that we hired and solved a specific problem for us.
Yeah, well, you're getting that direct feedback of, hey, this is where you are. I know how to get you to the next piece. Do this. Okay, I'll go off and do that. Oh, wow, that worked. Great.
Yeah.
Without that advice, you just try and figure it out by yourself, and it's much slower or just more misaligned venture. If you get someone to say, look, I know where you are. This is the next piece that you need. Focus on this stuff. That's going to get you to that next uptick in your business. So, yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Jason. If people are looking for coaching, they want to connect with you, I know you've got an awesome Facebook group that you're putting out a lot of content on, Digital Marketing Beasts. I've certainly tuned into some of your most recent episodes. They're super interesting, lots of different guests. Where's the best place for people to come and connect with you, learn more about you, find out what you're doing?
I would say the Facebook group. We have, like, a whole guides, I think is the new thing that it's called, section now, where there's, like, free content. I do, like, coaching sessions. I also have some live interviews, much like this one, with some awesome guests as well, which I think we'll have to get you on to join as well soon.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Yeah, I was tuning into you. Yeah, certainly watched a couple of the shows and super valuable stuff. What for you, what sort of people are you generally bringing onto the group? What sort of hosts and what sort of guests are you bringing in?
Yeah, so we bring in people from, like, last week we had personal branding. Then we also had, mindset, energy, habits person on there. We have other agency owners who are, like, really diving into specific niches. So a whole broad range of people, like sales experts. So really to try to, like, build your whole arsenal of skills rather than, just giving you that kind of agency training. We kind of build it up a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome, man. We're very much aligned in what we're doing. It's great to see people like yourself that are just trying to build community and kind of give agency owners that holistic perspective, rather than just making the tools work really well, but also considering the human aspect and the the mindset and the emotions and all of the stuff that business can be a pretty tough game, particularly I think for creative people to come from creativity down to, okay, I've got to do 7 tasks today, and there's a lot of challenges in that space. So great to see people that are out there helping people grow their businesses in really big ways.
100%. I appreciate it.
Again, appreciate your time. Thanks for dropping in. Been a great episode. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Wherever you happen to be catching the episode, if you feel like it, hey, drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're all over the universe of social media. We're all over the podcast world. So drop us a subscribe, drop us a like, drop a comment. Go visit Jason, check out his stuff. He's got some cool stuff happening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for spending the last 30 or so minutes with us here. Jason, I'll catch you over in your group. And I'd love to pop over and connect with you more on your show as well.
Sounds good.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. See you on the next one.